Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to what is this, episode 3? Damn, time is moving on, man. And we got the man, the myth, the legend, MTashed. Thank you for joining us, brother. I know you are a busy body. Apparently, you're doing. Can I leak this? Just what you're doing after this?
You can
Or no?
leak it a little bit, yeah.
I leak it a little bit. MTashed is doing a cover. This dude keeps bringing out more and more talents, man. He's voice acted. He's a comedian, and now he's doing covers. You want to give us a little bit about that, MTashed?
Birds are born with no shackles. But it's gonna be auto tune. It's gonna be good. I'm doing like a whole thing from that new rum. It's gonna be good. I'm trying. I'm gonna try my best. My old roommate,
incredible.
he like does like Broadway shows and stuff. He's gonna like help me with my like the production of the audio and help me hit the notes properly. And so I'm excited for it. He actually has a version. Like I've got a version I'll show you later that he did just for the memes, and it's incredible. Like I was considering posting it, but he's like, "No, we should do yours because it's like your channel, like But his is cracked.
Go ahead, Volk. You look like you're gonna ask something.
Now, Smack, do you have any musical talent? Because I know Brax has musical talent as well. I got jack shit, except I could play Wonderwall back in the day on guitar, and that was it. I feel like everyone has that talent. That's it.
I can't sing worth a damn. I can rap my ass off though, and that's about it.
Okay. Nice.
But I mean, I wanted to ask MTashed, have you always been able to sing, or did you take like vocal lessons?
No, just in the shower over time.
Wow, interesting, man. You had a little bit of something in you there, bro. You had a little Disney going on there.
Oh, you just you wait. When you listen to it, you're gonna tears.
Oh, I'll click on it. I look forward to it, man. Well, Volk, go ahead, go over the deets for today. The first topic. I have no idea, brother. I'm shooting from the hip here.
Yeah, me too, because I messaged you guys and I forgot. But and also I messed up the times of this bad, so apologies. This one's a bit late coming out. But I want to talk about gacha games in general, the style of gacha games, the way we play them. I know MTashed, you like often, you get that burnout, stamina systems, all that sort of stuff. I feel similarly where I like just gacha hopping, jumping to the next game, and playing them like console games. So I want to talk about that style of thing. Talk about being parents, because all three of us are parents now. I feel like that's an interesting conversation we can have about content creation, career, and stuff like that, because I know it's like a big career that a lot of people want to get into. And then as you grow up, it becomes a much more interesting thing. And those are the two main ones I want to get across while we got the time. Talk a little bit about 2.0 if we got time at the end as well, and thoughts around there, because there was one thing in 2.0 that absolutely triggered me beyond belief. But you know what it is. I told you, Smack.
I think we can start off. MTashed, you want to start off with family?
Sure.
Family dynamic. Let's do time constraint. I think that's an important thing that I feel many people on the internet probably want to know how we pull that off, and it's an interesting topic. For me personally, I run a separate business, which is the fitness business. And I'm only able to run that because it's completely tailored to what I want to do. I train people 3 to 4 hours a day. Driving, that's another hour if you add that on. So I have a very flexible, separate business. I don't have the 9 to 5 job. So it's a little bit easier for me to maneuver around and make time here and there. But to be honest, Volk, your dynamic seems to be, I pump out content pretty much from 5 a.m. to like 12, and then I move on to the day with the family. You know what I mean? And MTashed, I'd be curious to hear what you do, because mine's just here, there, everywhere.
Yeah. Like in the early days when I was young dad with a baby, like I was working a job to pay the bills and like live in university, being a dad and trying to do the content grind. So it was like crazy hours, late at night. But then now that I'm full-time with it, it's pretty comfortable, and I feel like I've done a pretty good job of balancing the family and the content side of things. I try to do it kind of that 9 to 5 type thing, and sometimes I go longer when there's content and my wife understands, but we really just try to plan it. And luckily my parents are really helpful for like if my son had hockey or something like that. But honestly, one time I did a raid, like the world first raid race for Destiny, and I missed one of my son's games, and he got a hat trick, like 3 goals. And it's the only hat trick he's ever got. And it's the biggest regret because we didn't even win the race. And like we got a couple extra views, but it was not worth missing that moment. And I still look back at it, and that was years ago. I still, it triggered me so much that I've really worked on. I just don't care about the content enough to miss out on those moments. So the more successful I get, the more time and the more choosy I can be. sometimes you got to work. It's a job. You got to be out there. But
for sure,
family is definitely a priority for me now.
It reminds me of something that back when I was working full time and like, you know, as a young bloke before I had a family and all that, like I worked every bit of overtime. I was working 10, 12-hour days, 6 days a week, just trying to make as much money as I could. And there was some of the old boys, I call them old boys, they're probably our age now. They're probably like 35 to 40. And I just remember this thing that one of the guys said, when, you know, we get stuck into him, like, why aren't you working the OT, mate? Do you hate money? You know, back when you're young and stupid. And he was just like, okay, he's like, okay, in 20 years time, are you guys going to remember the OT that I did for you? He's like, no, you're not. But do you know who's going to remember the OT that I worked? He's like, my kids, when I'm missing out on all this shit. And it's one of those things that's always stuck with me. And so like for me, when I got into content creation, I started content creation like a month after my son, who was my first kid, was born. And back then when they're real little, it's like, okay, I was just in that grind phase of getting up at 2:30, doing it, going to work, coming back, going to sleep. But now that my kids are 4 and 6, like that is what I always try and keep in mind now. It's like, yes, I love making content. I love sweating it out. But now instead of saying to the missus, oh, listen, can you do this stuff after school? Unless there's something really important, I'm just like, I don't need that video. Like I can go live life, because if all my kids see is me working, it's kind of like, and it's a weird thing with your kids, like you want them to have a good work ethic. So you want them to know that you're working, but at the same time, you don't want to miss out on their lives, especially at this age. So it's a really interesting dynamic. And I feel much the same as MTashed. It's like, you know, is an extra couple bucks really worth missing out on something special? Is the kind of
the time back.
Right now, I actually feel like more engaged with work again because my son just started going to daycare because my wife got her job back at the pharmacy. And so it allows me to be like, all right, no one's here. It's time to work. But for the last year and a half, because we're in Canada, so we have like the most insane benefits. Like she had a year and a half off, and they were always upstairs and they're always laughing and playing. And I'm like, bro, like, I just want to go up there. I do not want to be downstairs. I made the least amount of content in the last year and a half than I've in the last 10 years. Like, I just couldn't bring myself to do it because I kept getting distracted. I kept wanting to just be like, do you know what? It's nice out. Let's go for a walk. And I'm fine. The brand's still going. And now maybe like I can get back to the grindstone with some of these new games coming out. But I don't know. There's that delicate balance. I'm fortunate enough to be far enough in my career that I can make those sacrifices. And for that, I'm very grateful, because in the early days, it's like I had to make sure the mortgage is paid. But now, you know, even if I don't post for a week, the mortgage is paid. So it's fine.
And you guys had a little bit of a different dynamic from me, because I'm 31 years old and I just had my daughter last year. So it's so fascinating hearing MTash's experience, and even yours, Volkin, because MTash had a kid at 17, which is wild to me. That's 13 years before I had mine. And then Volk, you had yours. Can you correct me on what age it was?
28 when I had my son. 28 for my son, 30 for my daughter.
So either way, MTash was at a point where he literally could not afford to fuck around. He had to get busy with the vertical progression and financial stability as soon as possible. Whereas me, I guess I did a little bit more of the path of, I wanted to get to a point where I was already financially stable first and maturely stable to have a kid. But now I'm at a point where what MTash is talking about, I have my entertainment room right outside this room. And when I hear my daughter out there squealing, it's the same exact thing that MTash is saying. It's a oh, what the hell am I doing in here, man?
Yeah.
But I have the beauty of going out there, and at least, 10-minute, 15-minute breaks are more valuable than people realize. Because that 10 to 15 minutes, I do go out there and I play with my daughter, and then she's happy. And then I come back in here and I have a little bit of a mental reset. But if I don't do it and I stay in here all day, I always have that mental guilt at night. Like, damn, that was another day gone where my daughter, who's getting taller, like an inch taller each day, she's learning how to speak more and more each day, and those experiences don't come back. So I think what's important here, to wrap up this, and we can continue going on it, but for the viewer, for the young kid who's listening in, is understand that there's a means to have vertical progression to financial stability. But then once you work to achieve that, you now have to do the backwards thing, and you have to work to make time to spend with the ones you care about. Would y'all disagree with that, or would you agree with that?
I think It's an interesting one because it also depends on what you do in your younger years. I mean, obviously, MTash, you've got a different scenario because you had a kid young. For me, it was like when I was young, like from like even like from 14 when I got my first like paper round and stuff like that, like all the way through, I was very driven to earn money. Like that's just the way I was. So like as soon as I left school, I got an apprenticeship, and then I was working every minute of overtime I could to try and get a financial base. But there is the flip side of, in your younger years, go travel, have that fun and stuff like that. And I think that definitely impacts the way the progression flows from that point on as well.
Yeah. I'm in a stage where I'm like, I didn't get to travel, and I would love my kids to go get that opportunity, because I'd love to go to Europe or Thailand or anything like that, but it's just I couldn't. Yeah. There's no way. And so if I can make enough that I could just like let their lives be easier and they can enjoy those things and have a quote unquote better life than I lived, then that's a win. But I mean, I got lucky. Like it was maybe tough in the first few years, but like luckily my family was there and I had some lucky breaks along the way. And I think it motivated me more than anything to get to where I am. And like even last 2 weeks ago, I was talking at his school about content creation to all the kids at his school. And it was like a really cool moment. And people were like, that's Ben's dad? Like, what the heck? And, it was really cool. And I was blunt. I was so blunt. I was like, you're not going to make it in content, kids. I'm telling you, you're competing with guys like me. You might as well give up now. Sorry. But, I gave him a fair shake of how it works and everything.
You brought up something really interesting that I'd be curious to see your perspective on, Smack, is like the whole idea of like making an easier life, quote unquote, easier life for your kids.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with it.
It's like, does that then make them lazier? Like this is like a whole thing. And there's so many of those dilemmas you go up that you don't think about when you're about to have a kid, but then you start thinking about them when your kids are growing up. And I'm like, I don't want my kids to have an easy life as such. I want them to enjoy life. I'm always going to have that safety net for them, but I want them to earn everything they get, if that makes sense.
It's a nuanced discussion. Like MTash, if you take it at face value, then you just immediately think he's spoiling his kid. But I don't think he meant that entirely, right? I mean, in MTash, you can elaborate on it. But I do agree. Giving them a life that you never had is something every parent wants to do. But at the same time, you don't want to enable them to be that person in the society who just doesn't understand what contribution and improvement upon the humanity. They don't understand the imperativeness of that. I don't want them to be that individual. That's the worst kind of fucking individual. The narcissistic individual who just does not have a clue what working to, build upon yourself and have abundance and success, what it means.
One of the things that I think has definitely helped with that is like, if I could buy him a house one day because the housing market is messed up and let him start his life, that is a huge head start for sure. But as you're saying, like if they just get coddled and they just get everything handed to them, then they don't have any backbone. If they don't have any work ethic and stuff. But I've already seen some stuff with my son. Like he's playing on a hockey team right now that they have 1 win and like 38 losses. They're getting absolutely pumped. And he shows up every game, works his ass off. And I keep talking to him about every time you go to the outdoor rink or every time you get up for that 6 a.m. skate when other kids aren't, you're getting better than them. Like, and he's so good about it. He wants to get up at 6 a.m. to go skate. And I don't have to ask him. And it's like, I can see that he's got some drive and determination. And he even asked me, he's like, do you think it'd be good to do this business or this business? Like, he has such an entrepreneurial mind that I'm like, if I can fund that entrepreneurial, that job, that thing, if I can help you with that vision, I don't think that's a bad thing, especially if he's willing to do the work. But you got to be careful there. You definitely have to be careful because there's a lot of kids that I know that grew up and they're still lazy. They are the same age as me. And it's like, those kids, they were spoiled and it's still in their personality.
And Tash, the circle of life, here's the fascinating thing. The fucking circle of life. These are the people you get pissed off at in our space. Yeah. They just will not understand anything you're trying to tell them when it comes from a mature perspective, when it comes from a discussion between two adults. And the only reason they don't is because how they've been living their life their entire life. You practice what you do and you eventually become a master at it. I say that all the time. But we could literally take up the whole hour doing this episode. So we got to be careful here to make sure we talk about the weeb stuff as well. Do y'all agree? I talked with Volkin about this already, but MTash, do you agree with my concept of the 70 to 30% ratio of work and passion versus time and family? Time and family being 30%, work and passion being 70%. I think that's a good balance, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
And then I guess as you get older and start retiring, it flips, right? And
Yes.
kind of thing. I would say, like, because that's the thing is, in this world, it is run by money. Like, sorry to tell you, this is a corrupt, terrible world. If you don't have money, you don't buy a house. If you don't have money, you don't buy a car. If you, like, right?
Correct.
And so you can't buy experiences. You can't go to those places if you don't have money. And so I definitely think that there's like a portion of your life where you just have to, unfortunately, play into that system a little bit. Hopefully do it smarter than the average person so that you can come out ahead. But I'm in the mode where I think for the last little bit, I've been almost too lackadaisical with my content and stuff because I'm just spending time with family. But I already noticed that, like, I got to get back to work. This new house is not going to pay for itself. And, like, it's expensive. It's really expensive. And it's if I feel that way and that pressure, I can imagine what the average person is feeling like. Especially with like mortgage rates and all these different things. Like, it's tough out there. It's really tough out there. And so sometimes you might have to put in 80 or 85 or 90%. And that's what I did too, unfortunately. And I miss some of the time with my kids or my son Benjamin more. And I feel bad. I feel like I wish I would have had more time, now? But he's 13.
Okay, I just wanted to have that perspective
going on 14, and I wish I had more time with him back then. But I also know that he's going to have a great life because of the effort that I put in, and that's a sacrifice.
And with that 70-30 thing, I was just going to say, with that 70-30 thing, the way I play it as well is, it's probably 70-30. The one who really loses out in a lot of situations is my missus on time with the missus. But for the kids, I get up and I do exercise before they're awake. Then I do breakfast and stuff with them. Then they go to school. Then I work. Then they get home. I try and spend all the time with them until they go to bed. And then if I need to do anything else, I do it after they're in bed. So even though it is like you personally 70-30, for the time that they're home, they feel like it's 100. And that's the kind of dynamic I try and build. But then obviously the missus is the one that loses out in the afternoons if I'm doing work. So I try and avoid that as much as I can. But fucking every game decides to do updates and shit at like 7 p.m.
No, yeah, man.
It's just the way it works out for the time zones.
You put that in such a beautiful way, though. Like, I couldn't even word it better myself. You're right. They feel like it's 100%, and that's the goal, to put it that way so that they don't feel like it's not. And then but then you got the other problem of, oh shit, I haven't spent any time with my woman, man.
Yeah.
Babe, let's go have some dinner. Fuck, let's go on vacation. Let's leave it with the grandparents or something.
Yeah.
But this leads me into a video MTashed just made, which MTashed, it was a fantastic video. Like, it made me and my girl talk about the topic at hand, which is the AI progression. Volk, if you haven't watched it, it's an 8-minute video of MTashed going into it. It's great. It's fantastic. He's basically talking about the dangers of where AI is getting with the source shit. Have you looked at that, Volk, at all or no?
I mean, I use ChatGPT almost every day, but besides that,
let me fill you in. It's more, it's getting in more, a little bit more juicier than just ChatGPT. It's basically getting to the point where they can type some stuff in and recreate your dogs running through the grass, and then you will not be able to tell the difference between your dogs running through the grass and actual dogs running through the grass. And MTash, fill him in real quick about it, and then I'll come back and give my point.
I mean, it's getting to the level where, why would you hire a production crew when you could be like, hey, we need an old-timey, vertical view of a city, or like, hey, we need some footage from the 1500s. Like, there's all these things that you'd have to normally either put tons of green screens and effort into or find the perfect location. And it's like, it's spitting it out right now. Even the worst version of it is still like, holy cow, that's good. And so I was just kind of discussing, potentially people are going to lose their jobs, and it's not going to stop because all these corporations are like, well, why would we hire production crews when we can just do this? Like the people in charge with the money, they're going to invest in it. And there's nothing we can do about it.
It's one of those things though. It's like, it happens over generations, like where, factories, Used to have factory workers doing everything. Now it's machines. It's just one of those things where, and this is where and it's like when we talk about like drama and stuff, I'm always the guy that's in the middle because I think everyone does something wrong, and I always think there's always two sides to the coin, and in this one, it's like it sucks that could cost people jobs. And I get that that's an issue. I don't know what the answer is to it, but at the same time, that's like a macro, like a large scale look at it. But on a small scale look at it, if I'm a person myself, it's like I can't just complain about that. I've got to poise myself into a position where I can still make an income because I know this kind of stuff's coming. So it's like one of those ones where it's like, yes, it sucks. I don't know what they do about it. I'm not making those calls. But if I'm a person by myself, I've also got to position myself to not get wrecked by it.
The economy collapse is fascinating, though. Go ahead, MTashed.
Well, it's just like it's either do or die. Like you can't ignore that the change is going to be coming. And I was saying like it would be very valuable and useful, but there are so many people that are just so against it. But people are also against the Model T like Ford car. They're like, no way, horse and buggy is the way. Like, it's just so wild. But what's funny is, like, it started with like the images with the creepy hands. Like there'd be people putting their arm around and then they'd have like 8 fingers, and it was like, oh god, this is novel. It's not going to actually be anything. And then you snap your fingers and it's like, oh my god, there's a picture. Like I cannot tell the difference. It's like that's a perfect representation of what I would look like with long flowing hair. Like people can make the most crazy stuff. Like I don't know.
And you're getting to the point where eventually in Volkin, I think your point was fantastic, right? It's going to happen. You got to be able to adjust. But the thing about AI is it gets to a point where it does everything better than you. And my girl brought up the point where it's like it can get to the point where they can take every bit of dialogue you've ever created on YouTube, steal your voice, and then be you as well.
Yeah.
You know, and that's another thing. And now content creation as a whole, rip. Your job's gone. You know what I mean? So this is a scary thing because of that. Let me finish. Let me cook a little bit. But then on the other end of the spectrum, you have the fast food workers who are lazy at times and they don't put all the pickles on the sandwich, or they give you a shitty sandwich. They give you some cold fries. The AI is never going to do that. You know what I mean? So laying off that person might be a fair game. But then it gets to a point where it's even more important than just layoffs. You get to an economy collapse to where now capitalism is no longer a thing, because since robots are doing all of your jobs, you're now a society that can't really work. You don't really have a purpose to do. The AI is doing everything better than you. And so how do you even go about living life? How are you going to get paid from the government? Is debt even going to be a thing? Printing money, like it gets pretty crazy is what I mean. It can go down a rabbit hole.
It's beyond like my personal comprehension to extrapolate that out and see where it goes. Like a couple years ago, I was listening, because when I was working full time, all I did during the day at work was listen to podcasts while I work. And I listened to a really interesting one about, I can't remember who it was, but they were talking about this concept of like, if AI takes over, it becomes that humans, like you can then have like a minimum income for everyone, and then jobs become purely creative jobs, and like this whole scenario. I have no idea where it goes, but it's just like one of those things. It's kind of like, for me, AI has turned into what space used to be. When I used to think about space, I used to just go down this whole, like my mind would just travel forever, and now that's what AI does to me, and it's crazy. But I think like I remembered ages ago hearing Elon Musk talk about it, and he's like, we need to monitor AI more closely than we monitor nukes, because like
he said you should be scared of it.
That's just a whole nother field. But yeah, it's crazy.
MTashed, I wanted to talk about the AI a little bit longer here. The thing is, I've seen the movies. We all seen the movies where eventually the robots all get to a point where they just eradicate humanity. And I feel like on such a very microscopic level, you just see the very start of it going towards that direction. And it's been told a million times. So I think that's what Elon
Ultron
gets at. Yeah, I think that's what Elon's hitting at. And I'd want to hear MTash's perspective on that as well, because I'm fascinated by it.
Here's my thought is here's my cook, all right?
Everyone went entering conspiracy mode, okay? Yeah. Take with a massive grain of salt.
Here's my thought. All right.
Cook it up, baby.
If the United States government is getting billions upon trillions of dollars, I bet you they have some insane tech that if a nuke is coming, they can stop it. If there's they could probably stop so many things that we can't even fathom, and they're like, oh yeah, we can deal with that. The moon explodes, we don't care. We can fix it. I don't know exactly where it lies, but I bet you there's tons of like counter AI intelligence. How do we stop it? How do we shut it down? What are the what is the way to do it?
Contingency plans.
You would think that contingency plans. You would think that there'd be some sort of kill switch of like, this AI is too good, and you pull the cord and it just like deletes, wipes all data. Maybe they back it up. I don't know where it goes, but I'm guessing they're probably already investing in a lot of different things like that. And I don't know, maybe there is a way to code it to be like, AI, you can learn lots, but you have to stay nice. You have to be good. Bro. You have to play by the rules.
Yeah, it's like that iRobot movie with Will Smith from ages ago, where they have the rules, but the rules still go wrong. It's like, no, we're all gone. The thing that shits me about what you're saying is, that's America. Down here in Australia, we're like because we got nothing. We rely on allies. So we like, shit would be going down, and we were like, hey, America, can you help us? And they're like, yeah, no worries, we'll send it over. And then we're just like waiting for our internet speeds to catch up, and then we're done by that time. Like, it's like, our internet is so shit. Oh my God. I've got 10 upload speed. And I was like, and Mr. Pokey showed me his, because I was talking about multi-stream, and he's like, yeah, mine's is pretty slow. Shows me an 888. I'm like,
oh my God, dude.
My God.
Yeah, that's pretty bad, man.
I mean, over there, didn't you guys have like a civil war against emus or kangaroos or something like that? There was so many overrunning that they had to like pull up arms and be like, make an army to deal with them.
No, it's not that big. Like, you get people, like, they are considered a pest, and people go out culling. You like get your license and go cull them and stuff like that. But it's like, it's not like Avengers Assemble, and then we're like,
that's what I heard. All right, before we move on, would you punch a kangaroo in the face? Like, if it came up to you and it was like, would you consider like, I'm gonna swing one just to? Or would you just run? Okay,
no. So my missus' parents have a property up at the lake, and we go there all the time. And there's hundreds of kangaroos there. Mm-hmm. And I've got a border collie, a sheepdog. So all he wants to do is herd. He's pretty good in that he will chase kangaroos, but he holds his distance and he herds. And if I whistle, he comes back. My missus' parents, like 5 years ago, got a puppy. And it went chasing a kangaroo. And what they do is and I wasn't there for this, and the kangaroos go into the water, lead the dog into the water, and then they just start dunking it.
Oh, God.
So, like, my missus' brother had to go in and grab the dog out. The dog actually died, like, 2 weeks later from the injuries.
Wow,
yeah, which sucks. But no, they're absolutely savage.
That turned dark real fast. Holy shit.
Yeah, dude, it's nuts. But the thing is, kangaroos are actually very strong. And if you, like, what they'll do is they'll kick back on their, it's not like a boxing contest like you see in some of those videos. They kick back on their tail and they hit you with their big legs. Like, your chest is gone.
Yeah.
Like, but the thing is, they're not aggressive in that sense. Like, they'll hop up the hill right next to us. You can walk there, take photos. They're not going to come
over here.
They don't come at you, but like, you don't want to get into confrontation. Like, if you see them in person, they're not like these little, like, and this is the problem. We have all these zoos and stuff that have like captivity raised kangaroos that you can go and pat. In the wild, they just look like they're on steroids. They're so fucking big.
Biceps is
and it's like, no. That's not what you do when you see a kangaroo. Like, they're good enough. Like, you don't have to like run away when you see them, but just don't get into that situation. It's so funny.
Yeah. I speak Japanese. They speak Yakanese, bro. Hitting the gym 3 days a week,
dude. It's insane how muscular they are in the wild.
I'm loving the conversation. We've already hit the 30-minute mark though, so I think it's a good time to go ahead and move on to the gacha space. I want to talk about 2.0 or Wuthering Waves, whichever one you guys want to start off with. Doesn't matter.
Wuthering Waves dropped the new stuff today. Looked cool, really good. I just got to get my hands on it because it's like, it's so many unknowns. They're like, we updated this, we changed this. And it's like, I don't know what that means because I don't have any reference point. I haven't got to play it yet, but we're like 2 days away from the beta or something like that. So cannot wait for that.
Definitely. Oh, yeah. I'm hanging out for it as well. Something to stream. Like, I know you've been streaming and stuff, MTashed. Like, I always say, I struggle to stream unless I got something I'm really excited to stream. So I'm looking forward to that.
My thing is, I'm just hoping it really does deliver on the things that the Hoyo space is not delivering on. I just wanted to capitalize that cover your general audience. I know that's a smart business move, but capitalize on the things that the other people aren't capitalized on. I saw the notes. I was going to cover it, but I mean, I've just been busy today. But I saw the notes where they said they're implementing in 3 brand new bosses. I hope these boss fights feel so fucking distinctive, like so different from one another, because that alone will tell me that they are focusing on giving you those exhilarating boss fights with the exhilarating experience that you get kind of from a Souls-like genre.
They also mentioned though that one of the bosses from before has a new phase, so it's like technically there's almost like 4 new bosses, because that one has been changed now. And like, I don't know if you guys have played Punishing Gray Raven.
I haven't,
but like they had some pretty
hard,
yeah, they had some pretty crazy fights. Like I have a lot of faith in their ability to make cool bosses and like that almost Dark Souls like boss. I just kind of said I don't want it to be a lot of exploration like Genshin. If there's a chest here and there, all that stuff, I don't want to find 500 chests. I want to go from one area, fight a boss, go to another. Like I want it to be very combat focused. I want them to have lots of systems for long-term play. You know, Abyss-like stuff, MOC stuff you can replay, get rewards, get stronger. And if they nail that, I think I'm going to be happy. Genshin, I think early on I fell in love of like what I thought it was going to be. And it never became that. It never became the game I thought it was going to be. But I was a month or 2 in, had amazing growth. You know, I kept riding that wave, but I was like, they're building a game very differently and almost away from what I expected it to be. There hasn't been an update in 3 years with Genshin where I'm like, oh my God, this is for me. It's like, here's a card game. Here's the relationship simulator. It's like, okay.
It's funny. The card game was the thing that I heard in Genshin that I was like, I might actually play that, because that's like the most interesting thing that Genshin has released for me personally, because like it's got competitiveness. I like card games. Like I never tried it, but I was like, that's the one interesting thing that I did release. Too.
Yeah, I wish they could do raid bosses in that game, but Tower of Fantasy showed me that raid bosses just don't work in a gacha game. It's just too much pay to win, people joining in on it, and your role to contribute just diminishes by the second.
Unless it scales. With your
scales,
power level. Like everyone's damage is scaled down by the power level of their character, or they have like power capping when you enter it. So like your stats can't over. But the one thing I am very concerned about with Wuthering Waves, which I never thought about until Grimro talked to me about it like a couple weeks ago, is I don't think they can make the combat as good as Punishing Gray Raven, because with Punishing Gray Raven, the way it works is the game communicates to the server, you go into the battle, it all happens in your device, and then at the end of the battle, it communicates to the server. So you can have perfect ping. In Wuthering Waves, it's going to be constant. So like I'm terrified in Australia. I'm going to have like 300 to 1,000 ping.
You're sharing the ping is essentially what you're saying.
Yeah, so it's like, at least this is my understanding. I'm not 100% sure, but like it's going to have to continually communicate to the server because it's an open world. It can't like be like, okay, I don't care what happens. You go into your instance and then it'll communicate it back to me. So now I'm like, because I remember playing WoW back in the day. Like where you're playing a rogue and you're on someone's back and your character's going, I'm too far away. I'm like, bullshit, you're on top of them. So I'm worried that if they make it, and this is more of a me issue because everyone else is near servers, it's like I won't be able to play the game if it's as tight responses as Punishing Grey Raven, unless I get really good at playing at a lag. You know what I mean? It's going to be that's the one thing.
That's not just a you issue though, Volk. That's an issue that can affect millions of players that could be an audience for Wuthering Waves, you know?
Yeah,
it's an effect on the market.
So that's why I don't think it will be as responsive as Punishing Grey Raven for that reason, but I don't know. And I don't know 100% if that's how they're coded and that's how it works, but that was just someone Grimro brought up to me. I'm like, oh shit, this could be I could just be the shiny hunter guy because I can't play the actual game.
Yeah, but I just want something with some meat and potatoes. Honkai Star Rail definitely gives me a bit of that vibe because every patch there's like a new boss or like a new thing, but it's also turn-based and it's fine. I like it, but I do like that Souls like hack and slash action RPG type stuff a lot more. So if they can nail it, that's going to be very exciting for me. That's what I'm praying for. And if not, honestly, if it isn't, I want to get out of the gacha genre. I
I
am
feel you.
fucking miserable.
And that's
Yeah.
that's what I wanted
I feel
to
you.
lead into with that.
You got to
one.
join the Monster Hunter train anticipation, MTashed. You got to wait on that shit to drop. They're gonna cap. That's my last hope. If that game fails, I just might just hang up content creation.
That's fair.
Yeah, because
Path of Exile 2 though, last Epoch, like ARPGs,
Yeah.
definitely interested in that stuff. But
Mhm.
honestly, I might become like a reaction guy or like just like doing more, I don't know, just videos about different topics. It's a big decision, but I just cannot wait for more energy to play the game. I constantly look at the characters. It's like, I want to build that. I want to build that. I want to build that. I want to test that with that, but I can't. I'm not allowed.
Yeah.
And it's making me insane. Like, it's driving me crazy.
just spend more. But yeah. But the thing for me is, and this is what I wanted to talk about gacha games in general, is like and people talk about like overhyping a game and stuff like that. Dude, I am the biggest hype fest on any new game because I love a new gacha game, because like that honeymoon period, that 1 week to a month period is fun in any gacha game if it's half interesting. And I love that. But I'm also quick to be like, okay, I've hit the end game. There is no end game. I'm going to move on to the next thing. Whereas I think a lot of people want to get really invested in a game and have that be
You're
everything.
a man whore of gachas.
I am. I can't help it. Like, I'll have games that I continue. Like, I've played AFK Arena, which is an idle game of all things. The funny thing for me is idle games, for me, have the most longevity because they always add new chapters, make harder stuff, and it always feels like there's a progression to chase. I know it's artificially created progression, but it's nonetheless, it's that feeling of progression. Whereas a lot of the other games, if they don't have PvP, you hit a point where there is no more progression because you can do everything unless you create your own game inside the game to compete with yourself.
And progression in and of itself. Yeah, and that's the progression is MTash's problem. Like the progression being limited that is a main thing for me. That is a main attribute for me to enjoy a game. It's why I dumped 3,000 hours into Monster Hunter, because there is no, oh wait, stop, take a break. No, you can grind as much as your heart desires, and then you can go and test that against all of these different exhilarating dynamics of boss fights. I love that shit, and I wish companies would realize that if you build off of that in that niche, bro, you'll have an audience for a very long time.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I'll sweat my balls off for the first, like, to get to the end game. Like, I love, like I said, like speed running gacha games, trying to complete everything as fast as possible. But then it's like, once I get to the end game, it's like, you know, like that exhilaration's gone. So then I look for the next buzz, you know what I mean? I'm just like a honeymoon phase addict is essentially what it is.
100% though, but like when you start a new gacha game, it's like, well, what characters are good? Or is this character secretly good and people aren't talking about it? Like, you're getting more pulls because it's the start of the game. There's like the launch rewards. It feels like you always are jumping in and discovering things. And like, even with HSR, the first month, I was like absolutely addicted. And I wanted to beat Memory of Chaos and all these different things. But after a month or so, I was like, okay, I'll log in, I'll do my energy, but like I will never have that same passion. And I get excited for the new characters, but before, you know, when the game starts, it's 30 characters. And I'm like, oh, is Asta secretly cracked? Is this person secretly cracked? Like, I'm discovering every single thing. There's people like you that are building QQ, and it's just like, oh, she looks bad. And she's one of the craziest units in the game. But it's just like, no one gave her a chance. Bennett, that's a great example as well. Everyone's like, oh, Bennett's terrible. He only can heal you to 70%. And it's like, hold on, let him cook. Like, just wait till you get C1 and beyond. And I do love that discovery in every gacha game.
I love the discovery, and what keeps me going in a gacha game, it may not keep you guys going, but what keeps me going is what MTashed was just pointing out. When these kids or people get on the internet and say somebody's trash or this character sucks, and I know they haven't spent the time with them, that's what keeps me going as a creator. Because I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to do everything in my power to figure out all the little quirks about this character to really see if they suck. And if they don't, oh boy, I can't wait to make that video.
And I know, because you just did your Yang Ching one. But the problem is, the problem with this is as well is, this is the thing when you go into these games. You can do anything with any character.
Correct.
But like at the end of the day, people want to see them ranked. And so it's like, okay, would you then, because you can zero cycle with Yang Ching on a hunt-based thing, does he then go up to S tier? Like, if he can do something as good as anyone else in the game, does he go to the top tier? It's like,
I think that's the thing though, Volk. My thing and my goal of doing it is to point out the hypocrisy of calling a character trash that can literally do the same shit when you build them right and you understand the game's strategic points.
And this is the thing, because I remember in like before the game launched, everyone thought Yang was trash. Then this was the period of the game that I loved, when everyone's trying to rush MOC when you're completely underleveled.
Yeah.
And in that phase, when everyone's at level 70 trying to clear MOC 10, Yang was top tier because his freezes and break capacity were so needed, because you needed the survivability on top of the damage. People weren't going for 0 cycles back then. It was about, how the fuck do I get through this and survive when I don't have a second healer and stuff like that?
Crowd control.
And so like, that was his window of being like the top tier, because like if you didn't have him, you couldn't get through some of those fights. But that's where, when gacha games get to that point where it's like, we got so much gear, the progression isn't really too hard anymore, everything's just real fluffy. Now it's about who can do the most stuff the quickest and easiest, and that's where it becomes. But that whole Yang thing, like I love that period of, like, I love the new game. Like, I was trying to clear all of MOC with only the 4 stars and free-to-play light cones and stuff, and I love that. That was so fun. And that's the thing, once you get into this phase where we're in now, it's like, it's just all fluff at the end of the day. None of it really matters, because you're doing whatever you want with whatever you want. But yeah, sure. I definitely love that that idea of using things. I saw that video. I'm like, dude, I should fucking build Arlen. And then I looked at my Arlen, and he's only E2. He's only E2, and I'm like, fuck it. That's dead.
You're not building an E2 Arlen. It's just not happening, bro.
I was like, dude, I saw Smack do that. I'm like, bullshit. I'm gonna do this with an Arlen, and then like, I can't even build him. No,
that's what keeps me going though. Crazy shit like that. MTashed, you look like you wanted something to say. Go ahead, brother.
No, I resonate so much with that. It's so funny. And
you were doing a little bit of that.
Maybe that's why I'm so excited about. What's that?
You were doing a little bit of that in Diablo. I feel like you were cooking in Diablo for a bit there.
Yeah, like I don't know. The thing is, I think I got a little scared, because it would be like, your click-through rate is 1%. And I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
But then the searches would come through, and like a lot of the videos ended up doing well. Some of them had like 5, 6, 700,000 views, but in the first couple days, it was like 20,000. And I was like, oh, sheesh.
I feel you,
and
bro.
Then I also just didn't like the game. I just didn't like it. Within a week, I was like, there's something wrong here. Within a couple more days, I was like, oh God, there's major issues with this game. And then I was just done. I was disenfranchised very quickly, unfortunately.
That's the other thing with content creators, is like, views also play a big part in whether you keep playing a game or not, because at the end of the day, if it's your job, you got to make a living. And I feel like with something like Honkai Star Rail and like just the Hoyo games in general, I feel like if they weren't getting the views, they would not get as much people playing it consistently from all the creators and stuff I talk to.
Oh, I'd be gone. I would have been gone 2 months in. I would have been gone 3 months in. But it was like, if I keep playing this, I can make millions of dollars. So I'm going to do that. Like, I'm just going to be frank with you. It was like absolutely within a month and a half. Like, I mean, I had a mental breakdown about the gacha stuff. I was like, this is wrong. I made like a bunch of videos. That's why I got blacklisted. But am I a hypocrite? Yeah. Oh yeah. I kept playing. I didn't quit. I tried the free to play thing. I was like, that's the only like moral thing I can think of, is like, go free to play, and then like maybe I'll be okay with it. But the whole time I was like, there's something wrong here. This isn't the right genre for me. I don't fit in here. But you know,
me and Volkin talked about that though. We talked about how you don't have the right, like Tech doesn't have the right to judge. No, none of us have the right to judge, because we're all fucking hypocrites in some way.
So I don't know if we've spoken about this on the podcast before, but this is what I was saying to Smack, and I've said to other people. I'm like, the problem is, you can't criticize these companies making money, because we do the exact same thing. It's like, if a streamer goes, oh, you know, these scumbag companies, they make this much money. Do they need that much money? It's like
NFTs. The NFTs.
Not even like, we're not even talking about NFTs. People are just, you know, they're scummy selling their packs, $100 to get half a chance at a character. And then it's like, you know, they bring in psychologists to, you know, analyze, like, to make the best ways to get people addicted. And I'm like, yeah, but streamers use the exact same tactics to get people to donate, to get people to subscribe, to get people to gift donations. And when you're on the big streamers category, they don't need that money either. Like, dude, if I was a massive streamer and I had, like, you know, $5 million, let's say, I mean, I'm fucking out. Like, to be honest, like I'll make a bit of content on stuff I really love. I'm not going to be trying to get subscribers. I'm not going to be trying to get donos. I'm not going to be streaming. I'm going to be living life. So it's like it's the same thing with the hypocrisy of things. It's like, yes, companies, they're greedy, but hey, we also need money too. And the difference with a streamer versus a big company is they got shareholders that they got to appease. A streamer's got nothing. So it's like it's like that whole cycle of like
circle of life.
And at the same time, I choose not to have an issue with any of it, because it's back to that thing we spoke about earlier about the whole society and stuff. It's like, yes, there can be these fundamental problems, but at the same time, on a micro level, when you look at yourself as a person, you've got to not give into that shit. Like, you've got to not spend all your savings on a gacha game. Like, it's like everyone has to have their own ownership, and I'd rather focus on what my ownership is as opposed to
be
everyone else.
Too.
Yeah.
I also think, though, that it's like, if I work my ass off in content and I make $5 million, is like, it wasn't for free. I entertain people, and there's value in that. I help someone play a game and enjoy it more. That there's value in that. I promoted a brand, and a lot of the ones I promote, it's just like, do you want to play this free game? Yes? Okay, here you go. Here it is. Like, it's not like I'm pushing, like gambling stuff or like really sus stuff. There's a couple games that are arguably bad, but
I would say that the understanding you have to have is that when you're saying this free game is paying me to get you to play their free game, they ain't paying you because people are paying for free. They're paying you because they're making way more money. And like, and I'm cool with that. Like, people like shit on Raid Shadow Legends. I'm like, Raid Shadow Legends is a game that's been in service for 5-6 years. That's better than a lot of other sponsorships that people have done in the past with games that have shut down. That money's completely dead. Yeah. But then on the flip side, like, I won't take G Fuel because I think that's probably worse for people's health, because it's giving you like a justification and making you fill your body with something because you're sitting at your computer. If G Fuel was a pre-workout, I would promote it, because the placebo effect is to get people active and help them.
Yeah.
So it's like, and everyone, and at the same time, that's my personal morals. I'm not going to shit on G Fuel. I'm not going to care if anyone else does it. It's just everyone has their own thing, and you go about your business. The thing that gets me is when people start attacking people about doing one thing or the other, when everything is questionable to a scale.
MTashed, go ahead, buddy.
And at the end of the day, whether I promoted HelloFresh or it is that game or whatever it is, it's still not as nefarious as what a lot of these corporations are doing and how they're killing the environment. Like, honestly, like, would you rather little old me has a couple extra dollars in the bank, or these giant corporations? Let's get mad at them, not me.
3 wishes.
I just want a cabin.
Companies.
I just want a cabin. I want to be able to retire with my grandkids in a cabin, and then have like my golden play button plaque there. Yeah. And they're all like, "Grandpa used to be a YouTuber." It's like, that was me. That was me.
Yeah. See, I've given up on the golden plaque. I'm like, I'm never gonna get there. I'll just keep making new channels and get as many silvers as I can.
That's genius, man. I forgot, I lost my train of thought, boys, but we're coming up on an hour here in a bit. Let's finish off with 2.0 Pinaconi and how we felt about it.
Yeah, well, I said at the start, there was one thing that completely destroyed the immersion. So it's kind of relevant because we were talking about kangaroos earlier. So I'll if I remember, I'll edit in some pictures here. Hopefully they don't get angry at it. So in Australia here, if you go to the markets, like, tourism's a big thing. You go to the markets, you can buy a bunch of weird Australian bullshit that no one actually has or does anything with. One of the things you can buy is kangaroo scrotum bottle openers and stuff. Now, I don't think they're genuine kangaroo scrotums, because they're souvenirs that you take back. If that was real, like, they're like fake. But the problem is they look exactly like the center of Aventurine's chest, where he's got that little cutout.
Right.
And so every time Aventurine comes on, I'm like, dude's got kangaroo balls on his chest. And
I know. It looks like a ball sack.
And even in our private Discord, I'm like, hey boys, question. if he had a hairy chest, does it look more or less like a pair of balls? And I'm like, and every time he came on, I'm just like, this is killing my immersion because it's all I could see, and I just laugh every time. But that was like my biggest beef with 2.0. Besides that, I was pretty satisfied. The only other thing, and we're obviously going to talk about spoilers here, so anyone who hasn't played through it yet, just be aware. The other thing for me is the one miss in it, I felt, was like the pacing of the Firefly death. I feel like it completely didn't hit. It was
who was she? I don't even know who you are.
Like they had that little romantic bit at the top, and then you come down, and then she gets killed, and then it's like I think the problem was it wasn't dealt with in a cinematic manner. It was like she dies, and then you're in the select the text mode, and it's like this whole thing just washed over horribly, and it didn't really feel like anything to me. And it's like, she's a new character, she's done nothing, she's obviously gonna come back. Like, that's not the end, it's in a dream. Like, it was, I feel like that was the one miss for me. I know a lot of people got passionate about it, but I was like, it just didn't hit properly. Everything else was pretty good in my opinion.
$100 Volkin, you get some bitter ass Honkai Star Rail stand in the comment section telling you you're wrong for giving that take. It's actually way more deep than you think it is. It has so much more depth. You're wrong, mister.
Someone wrote like a thesis, like a whole doctorate thesis on why Firefly was a good character, and it's like, you're looking way too much into this video game character that's not even dead.
And that's the thing. I am very on story. Like, I haven't done any side quests, anything like that. I'm just core storyline. So maybe I do miss something, but I feel like I'm also probably part of the majority of people, and I'm pretty like, and I'm the worst critic. I don't criticize anything because I'm pretty easily entertained. Let's just call it that way. Like, people who whinge about movies, I'm like, I thought it was pretty good. But that was just the one thing I was like, this just feels weird. And I'm like, if I'm feeling that, surely it feels others. But I don't know what it was. But can I just say, Sam was fucking amazing.
Oh, yeah. Super cool.
Incredible. But have you heard about the tidbit going around? I don't want to give it away for you guys if y'all haven't heard about it. But Sam and another character.
I've heard rumors, but I've heard multiple different rumors.
Yeah, well, now it's just everybody is coming to this one conclusion that Sam is this one character. But I mean, I don't want to give it away if you guys haven't heard, but I'm just like, that's when you play the story back, because I'm playing it back again. I loved it that much. You do see the clues, but there's still no full-blown evidence, in my personal opinion.
Right. Yeah, because and like I saw on Twitter, because I've been trying to be more cultured and get on Twitter a bit more. You know how it is.
Man.
And like, I saw someone say he about Sam, and then someone's like having to go like, it's she, and I'm like, yeah, but Silverwolf and Welt call Sam a he, so I'm like, now I'm like, I don't even know. Let's just wait and see. I just want the character because it's fucking cool character. Like animations.
I'll be disappointed if it is a she, because that dude is way too much of a Chad, in my personal opinion.
Yeah,
he is she, bro.
And the robotic voice, like, they do good robotic voices in this game. The one, except for when that one little period went where they changed like the voice mixer on Svarog, and like for like one little portion of the game, he had a different voice. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yeah, I definitely missed it.
I can't remember where it was, but it tripped me out when they did it. But yeah, I think Sam's wicked. Like 100%. If you're not saving for Sam, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
I just think that a lot of the story, it reminds me a bit of Fontaine in the sense where I was like, okay, this is like fine, interesting. There was like little twists along the way, but until the very end, it was like none of this really mattered or had like context. And then as soon as the finale for the Archon quest happened, I was like, oh, okay. It really did it, and I think the same thing's going to happen with Penacony. It's like, this is cool. I don't know what's happening, but then when we finally get it, that's when I can fully judge, was this a good story? Because right now, it's just like, I don't know who anyone is. I don't know what's happening. Yeah. I wanted to touch on that death thing quick. I feel like so many games do this. It's like, let's just kill off a character, and I know that they might not fully be dead, but one of the only characters I think that I'd actually care about at this point would be like Sampo. Or maybe Kafka or something like that. And that's the thing, is it makes it even worse, because it's like there's some characters where maybe I'd be impacted, but Firefly is even worse than that. And so it makes it feel even worse. It's like, I feel like you're just doing it. If Sampo's in the middle of a conversation, well, my friends, and gets shanked in the back, it's like, well, this was unexpected. Keels over. It would be like, oh shit. It'd be like, oh, what the? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like because he's got
you've
this,
got to
like,
have an attachment to them. It's got to hurt when it happens. And I feel like that would be like if March just insta died and didn't come back. It'd be like, what?
Right.
I was a bit hit a little bit. I mean, I'm not really that much of an emotional guy. The thing about Firefly that got me wasn't necessarily Firefly, but it was the way they were pitching the cancer and how she lives with cancer. And in that dialogue on the rooftop, they gave a good little pitch of what it's like and how you would feel having something like cancer and being inside of a dream world. I thought that was fantastic. But yeah, you can't expect me to have any kind of like feelings for a person I knew for like 3 hours. Go ahead.
If I'm being honest, I didn't even know that because I skipped, boys. I did not know she had cancer, so maybe that's why I don't care. Maybe that's why I'm getting canceled. I don't know.
But that's okay. No, that's the problem with the fucking internet. It's all right if you didn't care about the story. You should not be crucified for saying, yeah, I just could not be fucked with that story. And there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, I always say I like Dark Souls storytelling. Like, I walk through the shack, and then there's a guy, and he's just like, be careful of the grafting. And you're like, what's the grafting? What the hell is that? And then you go fight the grafted scion with all these arms. It's like, oh, that's the grafting. Like, they're taking limbs. Like, I just want little tidbits. You walk through, and they're like, there's a chill in the swamp. And then you go into the swamp, and there's some sort of banshee that you fight there. And it's like, oh, this is probably what they were talking about. It's just like, it's that immersive world building instead of yapology. And they're just like telling their whole life story. And I understand that some people love that. But for me, I find a character like Artorias from Dark Souls where it's like I know a bit about him from the lore. And then I finally fight him and his wolf and like all these different things where it's just like, I know you're a badass. I know why you're a badass vaguely, but it doesn't matter. It's just like those little tidbits tell me enough to kind of almost make my own story, I guess.
I get what you're saying. You're trying to say Hoyoverse does too good of a job at giving every little detail and not good of a job on letting the mind wander, setting up a scenario that gives you interest, but then it allows your mind to envision whatever, like go wherever you want to go with that. Hoyoverse doesn't do that. They're just going to take what you were about to wander about and just give it to you. And then you're like, oh, well, what the hell? That's what I like about the Souls games. It's not a lot of dialogue. It's just, oh, yeah, like you just set up those scenarios. Then you got to go figure it out. And you might go through the whole game without figuring it out. So, but that's the beauty of letting the mind wander. So I think that's cool.
Yeah. But at the same time, they've nailed stuff like with Furina, where it's like, I do not like this character, and then you find out like the truth of her existence. And I was like, damn, okay. This changes everything. So I think they do good storytelling for sure. It's just it's a lot of the time in the last 5 minutes, you know?
There's nothing better than that character that you didn't like and then you find something out that makes you like them. It reminds me of the first example that came to mind is Endeavor in My Hero Academia.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Where you hate him, and then you're like,
and then they set you up for the comeback period.
It makes sense. I'm like, I just love this dude.
Don't spoil it, because that's a show I'm catching up on. Here's my hot take. I hate Bakugo. I don't know how he'll redeem himself. He's so annoying to me. Screw you, Deku. He's just so annoying.
Yeah, just keep watching. Yeah, it's good.
If he ever redeems himself, I'm going to be very excited.
Those are my favorite kind of characters, guys.
How good is catching up on an... Yeah, how good is catching up on an anime that everyone else has watched but you haven't? Like, I'm like 600, 700 episodes into One Piece now, and I'm absolutely loving it.
Yeah, it's nice. I've avoided a lot of the major spoilers overall. I've seen like the stuff with Lemillion, so if you guys have watched it all, like I saw the Lemillion stuff, and I think I'm into the next season, so I've still got a bit to catch up on and everything, and there's been some pretty crazy revelations, like with... I think there's something going on with is Todoroki the guy with the ice and fire? Yeah. There's something going on with his brother, but I don't know what it is yet. So that's where I'm at. There's like been some crazy stuff, but you got some good shit. You got some good stuff coming. Yeah, I love it. All right, that's good.
But I wanted to swing back to the Firefly stuff, and like this was the thing, like you mentioned, that rooftop scene with Firefly, that was really good. I think it was just too sudden. You started building that connection to a character, and it's like they're dead. It's like it didn't incubate enough. Is the feel I got. But on the MTashed side of thing, I think I feel like the immersion in the gameplay was fantastic in 2.0 with obviously just all the scenery, like the different, even just the different objects to destroy to get, you know, your combo points, or what the fuck do they call those? Technique points, and stuff like that. But the one that I really loved was when you were running through, you got into that center room and then you run through the doors.
Yes.
And then you're like running and you go back to the center. Like the way they did that while I was playing it, it felt really like shit's gonna go. Like that would have been the perfect point to kill off like the main, like, you know what I mean? Like that was like because I was getting tense in that. I'm like, this is creepy. They did the audio, they did the ambient, like they did everything really well in that. And I was like, that was the peak point for me when you could have killed someone, because it was like you were getting to that terrified stage.
No, for sure. I'm envisioning everything you're saying right there. I overall, I just think Pinaconi was fantastic. I think it made me feel that breath of fresh air again. The music going with the world design was great for me. And then the characters, for the most part, were all pretty great for me. I played in English because I knew it's literally a business play when you play in English, in my personal opinion, because you know there's a lot of people listening that aren't watching. So if you play in Japanese, they can't listen while they're doing their dishes or doing whatever the hell they're doing in their days. So
no, I just can't. I just can't do subbed. I've got to do English dub on everything. I'm hopeless.
Some people don't want to read. That's all. Again, it's still a good business decision because of that. People don't want to read. But I hate the fact of not being able to choose which character can have a voice act. Like I couldn't do the zestiness from Aventurine. It was just, it couldn't take anything that was coming out of his mouth seriously, guys. I just couldn't.
Why along with the balls on his chest.
Are you sure?
Friend.
Oh, every single line is like, oh, are you trying to take my pants off? Because you can.
And so because of that, man, I just, it ruined a bit of, because I loved that guy. And Volk, I talked to you about this. I thought he was going to be like some playboy smooth dude. And then it turned out being, let's be honest.
The thing that killed,
just like, what the fuck happened here?
I couldn't believe it when you said that to me, because you're like, after that dance trailer, I was so hyped for this guy. I'm like, are you kidding me? That dance trailer was the most cringe thing I've ever fucking seen. When you've got this main character from a game who's meant to be like a real quiet dude, pretty stiff, and then you got him doing the dance moves, and I'm like, this is not what I'm here for. I was like, this thing just like completely killed me. I could not handle that dance thing. It's just like, oh my god.
I disagree, Volk. I thought that shit was absolute fire, bro. MTashed, where are you at on that, bro? You thought it was fire, or did you think it was cringe, or are you right in the middle?
I don't even know if I saw this dancing thing. You're gonna have to link me to it.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I don't think I saw this.
There was a music video, and at the very beginning of it, Aventurine and the main Trailblazer are literally doing Michael Jackson dance moves.
Oh, really? Oh, no, I didn't see this at all.
Oh, it's awesome, man. It hyped me up. And then I read his biography, and it was like he was a gambler who takes all the risks, and he had ultimate swagger on, bro. Had the fur coat and shit. So I was like, oh, man, this dude's a player, bro. And then we get into the game, and he's like, friend.
Yeah.
Like, no, I can't do this,
but you remember, do you remember hearing him earlier in the story?
I did, but it wasn't enough. I need to hear like more times. I can't just get it off.
No, I completely forgot about it until someone reminded me. The Topaz story. He was the one that she spoke to at the end.
Oh yeah, I don't remember. I don't.
Yeah,
because she got demoted and all that.
When she got demoted, his voice.
And then he, so because he was inviting her to Penacony, so we'll probably see Topaz again. I'm pretty sure that's.
Damn.
I can't remember it too well, but I just remember her
about that.
Remember her out in the snow having a call, and it was with him, and he was like trying to. She got demoted, and then he got a promotion to do the shit at Penacony, and she was surprised that he got it because he wasn't high ranked enough, and then he was trying to get her across. Or so, I can't remember. Someone correct me, but yeah, I was like, oh, because once someone told me that, I'm like, oh, this is cool. So maybe you get Numby back in the picture.
Yeah. No, I mean, I have no idea, because now you got me thinking about stuff even more. Did he had a voice actor at the time too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
wow. Well, damn. Was it the same one?
Yeah, same one.
Okay. Well, then I just dropped the ball on that one. Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm gonna make a story review about everything, because it's something I can spend 30 minutes talking about. But I think for me, it was a 9 out of 10 story. There were some people I wish I could have seen more of. I wish I could have seen Sampo for real, but I couldn't see him. But yeah, I mean, it's an hour and 7 minutes. MTashed, I know you said you got something going on after this, brother. We can go ahead and conclude it right here.
Yeah, for sure. This was awesome. I'm always down to chat. I'll see you next week, maybe. Well, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. No, seriously, thanks for coming on, man. And I look forward to looking at that cover, bro. I'm seeing them vocals.
Yeah, we're doing it tonight, so I'll let you know when it's done.
Dude,
Yeah,
I can't wait for
absolutely.
that. That's epic. I love that stuff.